Hello and welcome to my kitchen. We are going to make a fabulous pumpkin coffee cake with a beautiful crumb topping. And then for a little extra pizzazz, we're gonna add in a infused cannabis coffee glaze. This is the perfect dessert for Thanksgiving, or let's just be honest, brunch or any time of the day. So if you like what we're doing here today, please feel free to like and subscribe. Let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is prepare a cake pan. This is a springform pan, so it's going to allow me to pop right out. I have added in some coconut spray, so I've just sprayed the pan with coconut oil. You could do it with vegetable oil, any oil, and then I've lightly dusted it with flour. This is key to making sure that your cake doesn't stick to the pan. So to start our cake, we want to do our dry ingredients and our wet ingredients separate. That's so that we don't overwork the dough, and let's just be honest, that would create bread, not cake, and we want coffee cake. So in my bowl, I have 2 cups of flour. To my 2 cups of flour, I'm going to add a teaspoon of baking soda, a half a teaspoon of baking powder. That's going to be our leavener. It's going to give us a nice big fluffy cake. We're going to add in half a teaspoon of salt, and that's kosher salt. And then I have all of my spices in here. Now this could be just pumpkin pie spice, so you'd use about 3 teaspoons of it. Otherwise, I have a combination of 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, half a teaspoon of nutmeg, and 1/4 teaspoon of ground clove. We're gonna add that right in. And then instead of sifting these ingredients together and making a huge mess in my kitchen, I'm gonna take a whisk, and I'm gonna whisk to make sure that all of my flour and my salt and all of my ingredients are just light and fluffy and aerated together. Once this is mixed together, we'll set our flour or our dry ingredients off to the side. And let's get started on our wet ingredients. For today, that is going to be 1 cup of pumpkin puree, that great stuff that comes out of a can. Along with our pumpkin puree, we're gonna add in half a cup of vegetable oil. This could be canola oil, a avocado oil, coconut oil, any oil of your choice. Then we're gonna go with a half a cup of brown sugar, preferably a dark brown sugar because I like those deep, dark molassesy notes. And to follow in on that, we're gonna add in 1/4 cup of maple syrup. This recipe has every fall flavor that you're going to love. And then to make sure that our cake is really rich and luscious, we're gonna add in 1/4 cup of sour cream. So we're gonna whisk these all together. We wanna make sure that we get rid of any lumps and everything is completely incorporated. You can see here, I go with a really high-sided bowl so that I can whisk this really well and not worry about spilling over. One of the saddest things I see in the kitchen is when someone grabs the smallest bowl possible and then struggles with it. So we've got our dry ingredients and we're gonna add our wet into our dry. And let's make sure that we scrape everything out. And then to this, I'm gonna add in 1 cup of fully cooked butternut squash. It could be butternut squash, it could be pumpkin. Let's just be honest, it could be any soft fruit that you have in the house. So I've done overripe persimmons, I've added in apples or pears. What this does is it adds just a little bit more moisture and oomph. I know it sounds strange to be adding butternut squash into a coffee cake, but I promise it's delicious. So the last step is going to be adding in about a tablespoon of some beautiful vanilla extract. And I wanna make sure that I don't overwork this. I wanna stir it until I just see the flour fully incorporated in with my wet ingredients. I don't wanna do this with a mixer, I wanna do this by hand. Again, we're looking to make cake, not bread. Once we have everything perfectly mixed, we're gonna grab that pan that we floured and oiled before. We're gonna pour our batter directly into it. And we wanna make sure that we scrape everything out, leave nothing behind. So I'm gonna spread this out so it fills all the nooks and crannies inside of my cake pan. And then we're gonna start on our crumb topping. Next step is going to be our crumb topping. So in this bowl, I have a combination of flour, butter, brown sugar, and again, those beautiful spices of cinnamon, nutmeg, clove, and or pumpkin spice. And I'm just going to crumble this together. I want it to look almost like wet sand, where all of my butter is fully incorporated into my flour and my sugar. Now you want to make sure that you do this with room temperature butter, and the best thing to do is to cut it into small cubes. The smaller pieces of room temperature butter will more easily crumble into the flour. All right, once we have everything nice and crumbly, we'll go back to our cake pan, and we're gonna take, and what I like to do is just kind of roll it between my hands and let it fall gently onto the cake. And now, ready for the oven. Okay, so we're ready for the oven. I'm gonna take a towel, just wipe off the bottom so we don't have a whole lot of mess. And then let's head over to the oven that I've preheated at 350 degrees, and I've got a cookie sheet in there as well. So now we've got our beautiful cake out of the oven. What I want to do is show you how easy it is once we have it in the springform pan to take it out. So we're going to unhinge, slide off the top, and voila. There is the metal base underneath. You can take that off if you want to, if you're taking it to a friend's house or a party, but it's really easy to serve directly on it. I like to put it onto a beautiful stand, so in this case I have this wooden stand. Glass or porcelain would work just fine. And now let's start our drizzle. For the glaze, super simple. We're going to start with a half a cup powdered sugar. To our powdered sugar, we're going to add our infused cannabis cold brew coffee. This is from Somatic. What's really nice about this is they give you kind of what your dosing is on the side. So we're going to add 2 tablespoons, about 1 ounce. That's going to be about 7 milligrams of THC. Pretty much a nice little micro dose to spread throughout our 7 to 12 servings of cake. So I'm going to add in my 2 tablespoons. Now I'm adding this into the glaze that goes over the top, so it makes it optional. You can serve the cake with the glaze on the side, so you can have the glaze, the cake for everyone, and not everyone has to get the infusion. If you didn't want to use all the cold brew coffee, you could use a combination of traditional coffee and infused coffee. So this could be an infused or uninfused recipe. If you wanted to increase the cannabis content, you could easily add in a cannabis butter when cooking your cake, or into the crumb-topping. Those will work just fine. With all the spices, you won't even taste it. Into the bowl with our infused coffee and our powdered sugar, we're gonna add in a little bit of vanilla extract. And then we just wanna stir to make a beautiful glaze. And I'm gonna whisk this together. Wanted to get rid of all of the lumps. And you can see here, it's just a nice, smooth glaze to go over the top. If you'd like it thicker, you can add in more powdered sugar. If you want more of this, you can double or triple the recipe. I know I love a lot of topping. Last and final step, we're gonna pour it right over the top of the cake. So let's get a nice drizzle all over our cake, right down the sides. You can serve it on its own just like this, with a little bit of whipped cream, ice cream. You can see those beautiful chunks of squash in there. I love it. Enjoy. Feel free to like and subscribe. We'll show you some more beautiful cannabis and uninfused recipes.